welcome to Purity One's Tip Talk. I'm Natalie, your host, and today's Tip Talk will be 5 years in celibacy and counting. Yes, 5 whole years in celibacy. You know, guys, I want to thank you so much for watching this YouTube video. I have 2 other videos that I have posted on YouTube, which are how to become celibate and is that your soulmate? I'm pretty much new to YouTube and doing videos and things of that nature, but I look forward to doing a whole lot more in 2017. Well, I'm just going to go ahead and jump right into it about this celibate journey. I'll tell you about 3 topics so far, and I want you to know that this is a 2-part video, and this is the first part. In the first part, we're going to talk about the journey, and then we'll talk about the move to Atlanta, because I was not always here in Atlanta. What could be better than moving to a place like this? And then last but not least, the transition. There was a great big transition that happened to me, and I want to give you some information on that. I'm going to jump right into my journey about how I came to become celibate. So the first thing that happened to me was I realized where I was in my life in 2011. My hometown is Chicago. And no, I have not always been celibate. Of course, I have engaged in intimacy before. I decided to transition from that in 2011 over a heartbreak. We had some very big issues going on, and sometimes, guys, that's what happens. That heartbreak actually helps you to understand exactly where you should be in life. And that's what happened with me. I just understood exactly where I needed to be. I definitely got a chance to realize that this person was not for me, that I was just out there, and that I was going from relationship to relationship, and the breakup, and it was just crazy. I did a lot of crying. I did a lot. It was very emotionally hurting to me. I was hurt a whole lot emotional, and it ripped me apart. But let's talk about the comeback. The comeback actually happened after you go through that period of depression. You go through that period of, oh my God, I've lost him, I've done this, I've done that. This is when the comeback kicks in, and this comeback has to be within yourself. You have to get away from those same old things that happened from before, and that's what I did. I got away from it. I made sure that I made some concrete decisions. And that's exactly what brings me to this next thing. The concrete decision I made was to move out of state. And no, he did not drive me to move out of state, but I was offered a very good offer to come to Atlanta, and I took a very good friend up on that offer, and I'm so happy that I did. She was very supportive during that time. I was able to come to Atlanta and move here. I worked like 3 jobs when I first got here. I was a working fool. So I just settled in, and then I ended up getting my own place. And then actually that's when celibacy really started. Now the move to Atlanta was big. It was really a big transition for me. I left everything behind that I knew in Chicago, and I just felt that this would be the best thing for me. So that's what I did. I just picked up and moved along. Now, even though I picked up and moved along, I still found myself unhappy. I dated maybe a couple times, and I ran across someone with a great energy. He was a great person here in Atlanta. And I know you're probably like, what? You met somebody there? Yes, because with the rate of people being, different sexual genders and all that stuff, yeah, I met somebody here, but I still was in my old ways and didn't even know it. So it takes time. I just want to say that it takes time for you to get to know who you are. And this person that I was actually, just dating and meeting, he was not responsive to having sex or anything like that. I was so happy that that did not happen and that he was not responsive, because it brought me to a better place. It brought me to a place to where I know who I am, and that I know that that was a mistake. So if you can get into a place like that where you actually know yourself and you can fix where you came from, that is the first thing to celibacy. That's the first approach you should take. You definitely should fix where you go wrong. I was pretty much still unhappy, but I do want to talk about this last thing. We've talked about the journey from my hometown, Chicago, and we've also talked about the move to Atlanta. So now I'm going to take it a little further and talk about the transition. And I won't hold you guys long. Transition that I speak of, which happened to me as I was celibate, or as I am celibate right now, which was church. I had been looking for a church home. I had been looking for a place that I wanted to go back to during my celibacy. And I felt that that was wonderful. That was great. I actually joined a church. I found a church just like my home, church home back in Chicago. And I was Baptist. And I say was because I'll tell you about that transition. And I was in the church, in the choir, singing, ushering. I was doing all sorts of things. And I thank God for that time in church, because that created discipline in my mind. It created discipline upon my body. I was not thinking about certain things. I had my mind solely on God. And that was the best thing to happen to me. The best, because I needed that discipline. And that's kind of how I look at church today, as discipline. A lot of things that can transition your mind to actually be something that is pure, that's clean, and you need that when you're doing celibacy. So during my time of celibacy, there was no going around men. Of course, I'm in Atlanta. There's no men to go around. So that's exactly what happened. That was my transitioning into church. And now that I had gone to church and been there for so long, there was still something missing really, really big in my life. And I had to look within myself to find out what it was. The biggest transition that happened to me was the transition from church. I know church got me there. I know God is good, and I still believe, but I had to take a step back from church, and I had to look within myself and say, wait a minute, now that I know who I am, and I don't have any distractions from sex, I don't have any distractions from men or people, what am I going to do with my life? Well, that brought a question upon me very hard, and I decided that going to church and doing all those things, it took up a lot of time. That was very, very time consuming. Considering there were outings, considering there were, usher meetings, choir meetings, Sunday, Saturday. It took up all my time. So it never left any time for me to find my talent, to find out who I was, to do what I actually wanted to do. So I transitioned from church. So now I am no longer in church. I still believe in that discipline that you need. And I still believe that that will help you through your celibacy journey. Some of you may not have to go through church to do that, but I'm glad I did the transitions and to church and from church. That really helped me a whole lot. You know, actually the music had changed for me. I started listening to jazz and getting into a lot of universal energy things. And that's what I'm kind of into right now. I started doing those things, and those things really helped me. It helped me to understand that I did not need to listen to that same old thing, or a song that may put women down, or a song that may take you right back to the place where you were before with that person, with that breakup. So I had to let music leave from my life for a little while, just for a while, until my insides of my heart healed, and until I was in a place where I knew that I can handle my celibacy. And that's pretty much what my 5-year celibacy journey is in the beginning. Now, on the next video, part 2 that I want you to check out, now that we've covered the transitions and now that we've done all that, we're actually going to talk about I still don't have a man. And I know man, know nothing. And we're going to talk about, am I continuing my search, and what's next for me now that I have did all these things, transition, and I've had my journey. What's exactly next for me? You know, we're going to get into that in part 2 of this video series. So I thank you so much for joining me. Remember, if you like this video, please subscribe. If you find that these videos are informational for you and you would like to see more, subscribe to my YouTube channel. I can also be found on other platforms, which are Twitter, Instagram, and SoundCloud. Instagram, Original Purity One, and Twitter is Pound Purity One. Now try and put all that stuff in the description below. I also have another show which is up and coming, which is Double Dose. I'm Natalie, your host. I thank you so much for joining me.